in education, just guiding and mentoring students um, in this area of physical sciences. Today, our guest is Shaniya Jarrett. Did I say Jarrett right? Is that right? Yep. And she's a PhD student in astronomy and astrophysics at the University of Maryland. She specializes in the application of machine learning and astrophysical time series data. Shania is the founder of AstroBeats, which we'll be learning more about the AstroBeats project and this initiative to like guide Black middle school girls through creating music from astrophysical data. All right. By merging scientific inquiry with expression, she aims to inspire the next generation of scientists. All right, so this is Shania, everybody. You all gonna get familiar with her. We have a series of questions to go through with Shania, and I say we waste no time. Shania, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into it. Can you tell us a little bit more about your background and how did you get involved with astronomy and astrophysics?
Yeah. So I grew up in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I was raised mostly by my mom and grandma, and I didn't really experience a lot of enrichment programs with STEM that might have exposed me a little bit earlier. But I was still always pretty curious about how things worked. I would, collect rocks and bugs, those little roly-polies. I would put them in a cup and bring them inside, and I was asked to stop doing that. But I was always very curious. So I think looking back, I was always inclined towards science, even if I didn't really know what, astronomy or physics was. Um, and so, ironically, once I hit middle school, I had lost interest in science. Math became pretty difficult, and I didn't really know how to ask for help. And at the same time, middle school, you're trying to figure out who you were, who you're supposed to be, like what identity you fit in with. And so I think subconsciously, I didn't see myself fitting the stereotype of like the smart science kid. And actually, I remember I was taking a test for gifted and talented because grandma thought that I should do that. And every grandma thinks their grandkid is just great at everything. Absolutely bombed it, like did horrific on it. And I thought, well, like there goes science for you. This is not like you are not gifted. So I think at that point, I just decided that STEM wasn't something that I wanted to pursue. And so I kind of carried that mindset into high school. And then when I started college, I went to CU Boulder. And I initially chose to study international affairs because A, it had nothing to do with math and science, and also because I was interested in learning about people's cultures. Um, but about 2 years in, I realized, I didn't really care for politics. And I'm very grateful now that I'm not in politics. And so I changed my major to astrophysics because I thought if I'm going to pay for this out of pocket myself, I should do something that I always thought was interesting. And so the transition was difficult. I pretty much had to start over because it's a completely different major. And um, it was it was difficult taking some of the math and science classes since had a hard time with that throughout middle school and high school. But I still enjoyed what I was doing. I thought the work was interesting. The only challenges I really faced at CU, um, of course, there's not a lot of Black people in Boulder, especially. And I think we started the program with seven of us, and by the end, there was only two of us left. So there's a lot of caveats with switching majors into a program that you're
Okay.
not fully, yeah, represented, and yeah, that's a little tough. So I graduated in 2020, right before COVID hit. I didn't want to be in school anymore. I didn't want to do grad school. I was tired of being a poor college student. So I said, I'm going to go get a job. I'm going to get out of here. So I worked at a company called General Atomics, and I worked as a satellite test engineer for about 2 years, which was really cool. But I didn't feel passionate about it. So I left
Mhm.
my very nice salary and cushy life to come back to a graduate school stipend. I know,
What?
I know.
Okay.
Yeah. But if I did want to apply to PhD programs, but I knew that I needed a little more support before I did that. So that's when I applied to the Fisk Vanderbilt Bridge program.
Mhm.
Keyshawn was a part of that. A lot of people know about it. It's absolutely fabulous. But I got my master's there in Nashville. That was the time I did the AstroBeats project. And then fortunately, I was accepted into a few PhD programs. So now I'm doing my PhD at the University of Maryland.
Oh my goodness. How did you? Okay, wait. I got so many questions
Yeah, that's
because
fair.
the leaving the cushy life to go back to a stipend. Ah. I faced that battle plenty of times. So I'm proud that you was able to do it. Because for me, I was like, I need to make money.
Yeah. Yeah.
For you, I mean, what made it so easy for you to say, okay, I'm gonna do this?
I don't know. It wasn't as easy of a change in what I wanted to do, but I knew that I didn't enjoy being a test engineer. Um, I kind of wasn't enjoying industry life at the time, which is it's a big change going from being a college student for 6 years to having like your typical nine to
Right.
five. Um, so I think I just wanted to do something different. I enjoyed research, but I needed a program that was a little bit more supportive and I could have mentors that I spend more time with. And so because of the bridge program, that's probably why I decided to come back to grad school.
Okay. Because that's one of those things that I feel like weed out a lot of black and brown people. Like that reality of having to go back and live off of this stipend and being an adult at the time. Okay, you inspiring me. How did this project come about with the exact moment of like when you realized that what made you say that, oh, I need to teach music and I need to use music to teach astronomy to black girls. How did that happen?
Yeah, yeah. So AstroBeats, it's an outreach program that I created. And again, it's for helping Black middle school girls get exposure to astronomy and physics and space sciences. And so I had them convert NASA data into music. And so each of the girls were able to create their own piece. They analyzed the music and some patterns that they were seeing. And then at the end of the project, I hosted an event at the local observatory in Vanderbilt, or it's called Dyer Observatory in Nashville. And then I hired an ensemble to play their pieces back for them because that could bring the whole project to fruition and feel a little more real for them. So part of the inspiration came from another program I was part of. It's called Black Girls Becoming. And so it was created by Dr. Nicole Joseph. She's a mathematics professor at Vanderbilt, and she's fabulous. And it was a 2 week program. I don't know if you know her, she's great. It's a 2 week program, and they are immersed on the Vanderbilt campus. They take STEM courses, financial literacy. They were being taught how to invest in stock, which like I don't even know how to do. So it was a really good experience for them.
Ah.
Um, yeah, I know. I should have sat in on the class. Um, but they didn't have an astrophysics course in that 2 week program. So I messaged her and I said, would you let me do this? And she did. And for many of the girls, it was their first time at all with any of this material. And a lot of them felt very engaged and they were excited to learn about it. Maybe a little intimidated, a little hesitant at first, but I realized that there's some potential here in Nashville to do
hmm
something like this. So I started asking myself, how can I make astrophysics feel a little more personal, a little less intimidating? And so music seemed like a very natural bridge to do that because it plays a big role in your identity. Uh,
hmm
we all resonate with music and different genres. And studies have also shown that building a science identity is a significant predictor of whether a group of students will pursue a science career or if they'll choose a science major. So I figured taking music that relates to your identity, bridging it to science to build the science identity it just totally made sense. So I knew that music would kind of give them a sense of ownership as well because they're creating their own pieces, and that's something really unique. And they can express themselves. It removes the pressure of needing a STEM background to engage with the material. And then I wanted to
hmm
see science as something that they could participate in directly. And so I got a newsletter from the AAS, the American Astronomical Society, and there was
hmm
a call for a Women and Girls in Astronomy mini grant. And this is supported through NA Road. The acronym is North American Regional Office of Astronomy Development. It's a mouthful.
Okay.
Um, but they held an open call for projects, and if they selected your project, then you would be funded and you could, do whatever you wanted with the money to bring it to fruition. And so I was fortunate enough to receive the grant so that I was able to do the Astro Beats project.
Okay, congrats on that. Now, when you say use astrophysical data, like, help me understand that part. Like, how do you use the data to make the music?
Yeah, so one of the examples, one of the girls, she was really interested in exoplanets. And so when an exoplanet passes in front of a star, the light from
Mhm.
that star is dimmed a little bit. It's called the transit method. And so if you were to convert that data into music notes, you would kind of hear it decline a little bit, stay low, and then come back up to those same higher notes. And so that could give them another lens to learn about what's going on, listen for what kind of pattern you hear. How long did you hear those notes for? Does that correspond to the size of the exoplanet? Things like that. So there were a lot of different projects that the girls had. One girl was working on um, orbital velocity of a planet going around a star. Another girl was working on the end spiral of a particle as it loses energy and falls into a black hole. And so you can kind of hear these patterns in their music so that they can apply a secondary knowledge to analyze what's going on.
Okay. Oh, that's brilliant. I never thought about that. My background is exoplanet, so I did a lot of research in exoplanets. I never
Oh
thought
man, you know
about
way more
doing
than I do.
I never thought about doing it the way that you just talked about, which is so dope. Um, yeah, so we know it's like doing a PhD program can be like grueling and isolating. How has working with AstroBeats with these energetic middle schoolers actually serve as like a form of joy and mental escape from during your day-to-day life with this whole doctoral journey?
Yeah, so when I did the AstroBeats project, it was when I was doing the master's program in the bridge stage. So of course it's certainly a mental escape for you because in general, I love music. So I think in another life I would have been like a music producer or an EDM DJ or something. So it was really enjoyable to me to be able to bridge something that I find as a fun hobby to what I'm doing in my research and in my science. Um, the thing I love about outreach is that you have this immediate impact. So you get to see what you're working on right away. Whereas with research, progress takes longer, the payoff takes longer, your hard
Hmm.
work and success isn't always tangible. It's not immediately there. You don't get to see it. So when you see the girls learn in real time, they can be their authentic selves. I'm watching them improve on their presentation skills as we practice. Like it was really nice.
Right.
It was really nice.
Yeah.
And because I didn't have a lot of access to STEM opportunities growing up, I'm stoked that AstroBeats can kind of give them that experience that I wish I had when I was younger. And another
Hmm.
great thing, so to measure the success of the program, I had the girls do a survey before and then a survey after. And so this was measuring their interest in science, their confidence in science. Do they think they're capable? What are their aspirations? And so I had them, the survey was on a scale from 1 to 10. And so I asked them, do you envision yourself as someone working in a STEM career? Initially, that was a 7, which increased to a 9, which was good. And then one girl, she put 1 before, and then at the end, she put 6, which I thought was nice. And
Hmm.
then I asked them, do you believe you would make a good scientist? And that increased from 6 to a 9, and then the lowest score changed from a 3 to a 7. So the hope is that for some of the girls, like I've changed their perspective on what they can do in science and if they feel that they could be a good scientist.
Nice. How did you go about finding the girls?
That's a great
What was that
question.
process like?
Yeah. So initially when I did the Black Girls Becoming, I kind of had that network of girls already, but I actually reached out
Okay.
to a woman who helped organize that. Her name's Dr. Brianna Roby. She's also great. And I asked the same question. I said, how do I hunt down Black middle school girls? Like, I don't know where to find them. I can't just message them on Instagram and Facebook. So she had me reach out to some local clubs and organizations. I started just cold
Right.
calling and emailing middle schools to try and get as many girls as I could. But
Hmm.
that was one of the challenges of the project was finding those select individuals. And on top of that, I was really trying to target girls that maybe came from lower income backgrounds, just absolutely would not have had this experience otherwise. So that it took a long time to kind of collect the group of girls. And I do wish I was able to find more.
Yeah, because you did it in Nashville, which is like a music hub,
Yeah.
right? So, okay. As we look at the voices shared in Cosmos theme for this week, let's talk about what comes next, right? what is the ultimate vision for AstroBeats? Do you see this scaling into like some standardized curriculum that you can use for public schools or worldwide? I'm at an independent school. This sounds like something that would definitely work as a classroom, as an independent study, or as a an elective course that students like mine can take. What do you
Is that
envision
something that
for
you
this?
is that something that you set up for your students?
Correct. That's something that I could set up for my students, right? So, like, what do you envision for oh, Astro Beats in general? Like, what do you want for it?
Yeah, so when I initially set up the project, my main goal was really just to help the girls build a science identity and do it in kind of a fun way, a way that wasn't as intimidating to approach to them. Um, I did pause on some of the work I was doing since I started the PhD program. When I was
Hmm.
doing it during my master's, it took a little bit more time to ramp this up and get it going. So I've decided to focus a little more on research this time, but I would absolutely love to do it again in the DMV area. I know that they call it the Chocolate City here, so I know that there is a very large Black population that I could absolutely tap into. And I would, of course, run the program again, but now I think there would be even better tools that I could use to help the girls make more diverse arrays of music. I think that it would be really neat to have some aspect of data sonification incorporated in like a class or an after school program. The DC kids need an after school program very badly. So
Right.
uh, expanding it would totally make sense. And I think you don't even have to do this with astronomy or physics data. Anything that is a spreadsheet, any type of data, you can sonify it. And if you can listen to something that you've only ever seen numbers for or plots for, it makes it exciting and it's different. And I think that students would be much more engaged in some of the tougher topics if they were able to do it this way. So I would be all for doing some kind of program, people putting, even like teachers coming up with a project that they do in class.
Hmm.
There's really a lot of ways that you could approach this.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm a part of the Step Up Physics cohort here in the Bay Area, and long story short, we are trying to find ways to get young girls more excited about going down these paths and taking these career. This
Mhm.
going into STEM. What is something that you feel like could help teachers and educators get more young women, especially women of color, into STEM? What is something that, from your experience, that you've gathered so far?
Yeah. Okay, so I there's a couple things. So I think the most important age to catch them at is usually sixth to eighth grade because that's kind of when they fall off of the pipeline. Um,
Okay.
and when I've done other outreach projects and I've gone and taught at elementary schools, the girls are very excited in fifth grade, and then you go to middle school and it's just completely different. So and it's also the age where they're exploring themselves. They're probably on social media. They're still developing and figuring things out. So anything that you can do to relate to something they're already interested in is a good way to go about it. I was watching a documentary. It was on mathematics and how the US has really fallen behind. And there's the idea that we should make the material more engaging by letting students do their own project relating to something in their life. So instead of asking some ambiguous question of, you know, the person eats this ice cream at this rate, how much is left? Like, why don't you apply that to what did you have for dinner last night? How did you get to school today? So I think if it's not relatable, that they're not going to bite. So you have to find something that they're already pursuing or interested in to make that initial response a little more engaging. The second thing is like there has to be access and the opportunity. Like
Mm,
I had no idea. You don't know what you don't know until you learn
right.
something that's there. So you have to give them the opportunity. So people need to, create them however you need. It needs to be there. And then when you do make those opportunities, if you're trying to target a specific audience, you need people to represent that audience. So whether it's a volunteer, if it's someone running the program, somebody should look like those people that you're trying to
You're
reach out
correct.
to.
Yeah.
Um, so I think, yeah, there's a lot of challenges with that, but that's probably how I'd go about it. Um, and I would also implore people that if you are trying to do some kind of project, you don't always need a massive budget. You don't need to build a large organization. You can find resources that are already there, build off of things that already exist. You don't always have to build stuff from scratch because that takes a lot of time. Um, And yeah, and you don't need to be an expert. I was at some point I was winging some of the days with the girls because I had
Hmm.
taught all the material in the first 2 days and I thought, oh my God, like this was not the plan. So I was winging it a lot at the time. So it's you don't need to be an
Right.
expert to get it to work.
I think that also works as an educator for this long, 15 plus years, like not always having the answer and showing students that like, oh, we can work on trying to figure this out together. It becomes that partnership like a PhD student with their mentor. And I think education is supposed to take that form at this rate. So yeah, that makes sense. I'm a part of hiring teams now, and I'm always like, we're preaching diversity, equity, inclusion, and all of these things. Where are the women physicists? I want to work with a woman physicist. So
Me
I'm
too.
like always trying to figure out how we get the samples. I like, it's not enough women doing this. So I'm like trying to figure out like how do we make this happen?
And
So,
that it's not only
okay.
the middle school pipeline, like after, say you find your girls in sixth to eighth grade and you got them and they're good, then they need support through high school because sometimes they fall off at that stage too when the classes start to get a little more difficult. And then you have to catch them again in college. You have to make sure that they major in whatever STEM field they want to pursue, that they're being supported, mentored, that they're being given research opportunities. After college, more fall off. Not all of us get to grad school. We don't all get to postdocs, to faculty. There's so many places that we end up dropping off for various reasons. So the young age is step one, but there are many other places that we need to make sure we carry people through so that they can find themselves in leadership roles, whether it's a professor in an academic role, whether you are like a director or in the C-suite, whatever it is, because when you're up
Right,
there, you can
right.
then bring three people up with you and kind of grow the diversity that you're talking about as a hiring manager.
Yeah. Hmm. All right. This is giving me more ideas to bring back to my team. For all of the people that's watching, like the students, the educators, and scientists, that's working on their own type of creative projects, what is the biggest lesson you've learned about balancing the demand in PhD work with community work? How do you do that?
I'm going to give you an honest answer, and
Okay, go for it.
there was no balance when I did this project. So the timing was kind of unfortunate. So I was applying to PhD programs. I was applying to the NSF GRFP fellowship. Um, I was taking some difficult courses, and then this project was, my baby. So I wanted it to be perfect. And I don't know how I got through it. I probably was not working out and like taking care of myself as much as I should have. So that's kind of why I backed off a little bit with some of the outreach doing my PhD because it was very hard to balance both. And also, it was the first time I'd ever done a project like this. So I couldn't really gauge how much work it would take on my end to make sure that this
Hmm.
worked out properly. So I would encourage people who are doing projects and you're trying to balance it, like try to get some kind of team, get some mentors, some people that will volunteer TA for you, just whatever it is. Don't try to do it by yourself if you have a lot on your plate because something's going to fall to the wayside and you won't be able to do your best at all the different areas that you're working on. So that is my honest answer.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you didn't have no balance in the beginning.
there was not balance. I was taking advanced quantum mechanics at the time and like, don't ask me
Yeah.
anything about it because I spent less time on assignments and things like that because I was a little more focused on my research and the project. So it was definitely tough to balance. So try to time your things out if you can a little bit better.
Hmm. Yeah, see, 15 years later, and I've been teaching physics, hardcore physics for the past 8 years, and I still have to go back and like, what was the logic? How did that make sense?
Yeah,
I
oh
found
no, it
myself
requires so
questioning
much
everything.
prep. Yeah, to be able to teach, like I find myself when I teach, I have to like rehearse what I want to say and like prepare things. So it takes a lot of energy. So kudos to you for for doing.
Look, we're doing what we can. So before we wrap up, I want to give you the floor. Like, what is one thing about like your AstroBeats project, your students, the intersection of art and space that you wish people ask more about or more often?
Yeah, I wish people were a little more open to being creative in science. I think we've gotten a little bit better with that, but I think growing up, science to me was always very rigid. It's like, here's exactly how you have to do it. And I'm not talking about like the scientific method. You should, follow the
Hmm.
structure for that to collect your evidence and all that. But when it comes to solving a problem or setting up your methods or pulling in your data, like I think having a creative mindset kind of gives you more options and you don't always realize it. And I think when you kind of spend time trying to bring two different things together, it gets those creative juices flowing. So I think a fun exercise that I like to do sometimes, I'll take whatever I'm working on at the moment, whether it's research or maybe it's a specific class, whatever it is, and then try to find a way to bridge it to a hobby. And sometimes it's, simple to do, but other times maybe you're like, oh, I really like my economics class, but I also like to crochet. So then you have to think about like, well, what's a way that I could maybe merge those two somehow? And it kind of gets you thinking and like becoming more interdisciplinary with how you go about building projects and like solving problems. So I think people should spend more time asking themselves how to bring two separate things together yeah, that's probably what I would say.
Ah, okay. Um, yes. Okay, so what advice would you give those interested in following your footsteps and interested in this incredible work that you do? What advice would you give?
Oh man. Okay. I have a lot of unsolicited advice that I can give. Um,
Okay.
I honestly the first one that like throughout my life I wish I had always done and always thought that there was no reason not to do this. Always ask questions all the time. Curiosity, in my opinion, is one of the best skills that you could ever develop. And you're not going to know everything. If you do know everything, you're lying. Just it's asking
Mm,
questions is often more valuable than getting answers. So like that's probably step one. And then throughout my experience, I would say it's always okay to change your mind. I change my mind all the time. From international affairs to astrophysics. I didn't want to go to grad school, so I decided to work. Now I'm in grad school. Now I'm thinking about industry again. Just kind of go where your interests are. It's totally fine to change your mind. You just have to explore what you want to do, and there's nothing wrong with that. Um, and then I would also say like get help when you need it. I think one of my biggest mistakes was never asking when I was younger, and that's kind of when I fell behind. But even now as a PhD student, there's some days where I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm going to drop out because I'm a terrible student and my advisor hates me. And then, he'll be like, "You're doing a great job." And then I ask questions and everything seems all blue and flowery again. So I would just get help when you need it. Let go of your if you're shy about it or if you have ego about it, just nobody knows everything. Um, what other?
right,
Another
yeah. Okay,
thing.
go for it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, another thing. I also wish I had done sooner. People tell you to explore your values and figure out what you like, and I didn't really take that serious until the last few years. And I think if you literally just sit down, Google values test or quiz, and like it helps you sort some of the things you kind of care about so you can apply those values to your work or what you do in your day to day. And I think that narrows down like what you see yourself doing in the next few years, what do you actually care about doing? And I kind of wish I had done that a little sooner because I might have made some different choices. But yeah, knowing
Hmm.
knowing your values makes decisions much easier, and you should always spend time doing things that matter to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, your values. Okay. I think I got another question.
Mhm.
How do you like we're living in the age of AI. How has AI began to change your work, or do you feel like it's changing how you work?
Absolutely, it has. So I
Okay.
I am a slow coder. I don't know what it is about code, but it's just taken me like a long time to get better at it. I've been doing it for a while. And it takes me a long time to find, the a syntax error or something dumb that just takes up my time and feels like busy work. So I am able to code so much faster. I'm able to get results more quickly, and I feel like I'm learning more material. It's easy for me to be like, Claude, explain this like I'm 12 because I don't understand. Send me some links to some videos or other resources. So it's definitely sped up kind of my workflow in the day to day. Um, And in my mind, I keep telling myself the tools we're using now are the worst that they'll ever be. So, I hope we don't
Oh,
get replaced, but I do think that they are getting better at doing some of the things that we do in science. So I like to see it as a collaborator, an advanced collaborator, not necessarily a replacement yet. But I use Claude and GPT and sometimes Gemini all the time.
mhm.
I'm very pro, like use the tools that you have to your advantage. Um, just make sure if you're gonna put some citations in a paper from those that you are making sure they are real, because that's happened to a few
Right.
people. Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, I think I that's probably the biggest change that it's done for me is with the code.
Yeah, so I definitely appreciate you saying the things that you're saying in the way that you're saying them because I feel like students always look to us and adults and people in science as know-it-alls. And it's like, no, it's okay. We don't know everything. We still got to go do research. We still have to try to figure out how to solve these problems.
Yeah.
And I think them hearing it from you, especially you in this PhD program right now, you doing the work, astrophysics work. I think that it makes the conversation easier to have because I'm gonna definitely point to this video in the near future when I get my new students. I'm like, oh, check out my homie Shaniya. Like,
I'm struggling. I don't know what's going on.
I'm like, listen, this is what we do. We can work on PhDs and still use AI because some people are, anti-AI still, but I think AI is changing the game, and I think it's going to be a tool that weeds out people if we don't learn how to use it. So,
I agree. And I do think, as great as it is, of course, like you should make sure you understand what it's giving back to you and what you use it for. And I think it's at the PhD
mhm,
level, we already know to do that. But for some of the younger students, if you're an undergrad student or in high school, very it's very risky and it's like it's hard to say no to something just giving you the answer. But at some point, like it will
right,
backfire. So you have to really challenge yourself to make sure like, oh, this is a great answer. Yes, I have this code, but I should go through it and make sure like I know what's going on. And you should instead be the person that can decipher if the stuff your AI is giving you is correct or not. So you're the
right,
expert, but the AI should still be the tool.
correct. Yeah. Okay. I feel like we've been having a great Black Space Week, and shout out to Black and Astro for putting this event together. I do want to open the floor up for some more potential questions. Are there any other questions that people might have? In the meantime, while we waiting on questions to generate, once you finish your PhD program, what do you want to do next?
Oh my gosh. I knew you guys would ask this. Well, okay, so the first year I was like, you know what? I'll probably end up doing a postdoc. I'm gonna do the whole thing. And then immediately after that, I was like, actually, I don't think I want to stay in academia. And then I felt bad because that kind of had been the plan coming back to grad school. Um, I'm feeling a little bit more drawn to working at least part-time on problems that affect people and community just a little bit more. Um, I love astrophysics. I love space. I would totally take a job in industry if I get something related to doing research with that. But I would kind of like to take the data analyst skills and statistics that I've learned and maybe try to apply it to problems that I can help fix that are more immediate and tangible, like with the outreach project, because I did really enjoy that. So not a certain answer as of right now, but exploring things as far as I know.
Listen, if you ever want to become a physics teacher, let me know because we
Ooh,
need more women in
that.
teaching physics, especially Black women. We do
Yeah,
got
I
some
know.
questions coming in. One of the questions that just came in is what software or process did the girls use to sonify the data?
Yeah, okay. So they used two different tools. So the first one was called Two Tone, Twotone. It was
Okay.
in beta testing, so I don't think it was like a completely finished version, but that's how they made their melodies. So you upload a spreadsheet or whatever data set to that website, and then it assigns each of those data values a note. And so you could decide how many times do I want this note played, what instrument plays it, what's the BPM, things like that. So that's their melody track. I then had them use another website called Soundful. And so you can type in a genre, you could even type in a mood of how you're feeling that day, and it'll kind of generate like a background track. Um,
Oh.
so this was done in 2023, and now the AI sound tools are significantly better. I had to go in and like music production engineer some of their stuff because it was like it needed a little help.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, no worries.
but yeah, so Soundful was what I used. And then I had to go in and it's not FL Studio. If you do music production, the ones that
Logic Pro,
there's
uh,
one that's free
Pro
that I use
Tools,
that I don't remember,
Garage
but
Band, any of
it wasn't
those?
Garage
No?
Band. It was basically it's
Okay.
the same type of tool, but I had to go
Gotcha.
in and save the melody as an MP3 and then align that with the Soundful track that they had made and do kind of some tweaking to get it to sound a little bit better. But that's how I made the songs. And if I were to do this again, I am sure that there is a two-tone that is significantly better that lets you do more than just a couple notes per value. It probably has an array of different ways that you could make a melody from data. And then Soundful, I'm sure has gotten better, but I know there's tons of other AI generated music backtracks that you could use. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
We have
Mhm.
another question that came in from Octavia. It says, can you tell us about a moment when a participant surprised you with the way that she interpreted the scientific data through the music?
Oh, okay, actually, there's one of the girls, she was looking at a catalog of stars. So it's like the different O, B, A, F, G, K, M, the type stars based on their
Okay.
temperature. And so, and looking at this catalog, she was able to categorize how often we would have O-type stars, which they're incredibly rare. It's like I think it's like 0.01% of the stars, if not less, are O-type. They're the hottest.
Hmm.
And they look blue. And so she assigned the higher notes to be the O-type stars, and you would hear them pretty rarely. So she was able to deduct how
Mm.
common different types of stars were based on how many times a note was played, which I thought was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Another question from LaShonda. Is AstroBeats a model to share with other cities?
Um, uh, like how I set
Yeah,
things up or just the concept of the project?
I think how you set it up, that's what I think the question is hinting at. Like, how would you set it up? Like, do you think other cities can try to use this?
Oh, like anybody, the project I did, truly anybody could do this. Just collect your participants however you need, pick out the data you want to use. Maybe you're a biologist that I know there's biology data out there you can use.
Mm,
Um, and just, yeah, find a location and come up with a lesson plan. A lot of it I was kind of doing on the fly. I was like, what do I want the girls to take away from their first astrophysics course? And then find the tools that I want to use. You can do this anywhere with literally anything. Um,
hmm.
and it
Okay.
would be cool too, when I think of myself as like I'm an ideas girl, but I don't like to put in the work to actually do the ideas. I just like to come up with them. Um, but
Okay.
in Nashville, I thought if I continued with the AstroBeats project and I stayed there, I would obviously try to grow it and to get more involvement. And there's a lot of local city events that go on. So I thought, how cool would it be to do this as like a community event, like bring the girls up on like a stage, or if if they're shy, read off their music for them and read it to the community and just like post it on Eventbrite and then have people show up. And now it's the everybody in this Black community are learning about space and physics, and they're like, wow, these middle school girls created this music from data that's so amazing. Like I could probably do that too. So my
Hmm.
big idea was to go large, to get more people
Okay.
involved, and I ended up moving somewhere else. But you can totally start small in a classroom to do this. You could
Hmm.
expand it to more people. It's a really versatile way to get people involved in science.
Got you. Charlene sent in a question. She says, I've also played with sonification of transit curves. How processed was the data before you gave it to the girls? She had to write Python code to pull the process data. Did they learn to do that? And what software did they use for that? And she also mentioned, was it Audacity that you used as the tool for like the
I think it was Audacity.
It might have been
Actually, yes, I
Audacity.
think it was Audacity.
All right.
Yeah, it was a free tool. It was easy. I watched YouTube videos to learn how to use it. So no, so the girls didn't do any Python coding. When I initially pulled the data, um, I left the transit curve as is, but I made visuals of a couple of them and I tried to pick out ones that were really nice. And I think the two-tone software, it wasn't super advanced, so it would maybe clump a bunch of values together as one note, which actually smoothed out the curving as opposed to it sounding kind of staggered and chaotic because transit curves can be really noisy. And they didn't have to like process any of the data. They didn't have to apply Python techniques. I was worried that at that stage it was going to be too much for the girls, but I think if you continued with the project or if you do this for a different age group, you can absolutely have them process the data and pick out more
Okay.
information and maybe do more of a statistical analysis on it. Um, so yeah.
Okay, got you. We had an anonymous question. If one of the girls from the AstroBeats project was to speak on your behalf, what do you think that she would say she learned about herself? That's a
Oh,
good
that's a
question.
good question. I have some quotes from the girls if I can like hunt it
Okay.
down real quick. Maybe that's what they would say. It wasn't an anonymous survey and they knew it was coming to me, but um,
No, this is fine. This works. However they feel or whatever they feel like they learned about the process or themselves going through the process, that's
okay,
gonna be
some
great.
quotes from the participants. Okay. This was from Olivia. She said, "My favorite part of the STEM outreach project was the fact that we got to put some of ourselves into the project and that we also got to be really creative." Nasia said, reflecting on how the project transformed my view of astronomy, I think it changed a lot for me and helped me realize that there's so much out there in space that we haven't discovered yet, and that we can help with those discoveries and find out more about how the universe was created. And then the
Mm.
last one I'll share is Sydney said, "This project has made me feel more confident and comfortable learning about the mysteries of space."
Hmm.
So I'm hoping, they overall, I think they had a really good experience from it. And I could tell their confidence in a lot of the girls was it was just improved after we did this 4-day workshop. A lot of them came in very shy, not very talkative, and so I would like them to leave the project thinking that it was a meaningful experience for them and that, now they know astrophysics, so they can go right into high school and flex on everyone.
Mhm. I I so appreciate you for the work that you do and the things that you have accomplished so far and the things that you're going to continue to accomplish. I guess one last question that I would have, do you believe in aliens?
What did I just watch? I just watched Disclosure Day at the theater, which is about aliens. I think statistically they are out there. Um, if each solar system has, say, like one planet, every star has
Hmm.
at least one planet. Given the number of stars that we have and that there are hundreds of billions of galaxies, I think that gives us like 10 to the 24, 10 to the 27 exoplanets. Statistically, there's got to be something. Maybe they're too far away.
Hmm.
Maybe we can't communicate. Maybe they don't want to communicate with us, which right now I don't blame them. Uh, Maybe they're predators, like who knows? And it would be amazing, obviously life-changing if we could find aliens before we all pass, but since we're what is it, the last second on a calendar is our existence, I don't know if we'll be around long enough to find them. But I think they're out there.
You do believe that they are out
I
there.
do. I think they're out there. But I
And
don't
I
think that they
think,
would take
yeah.
any form we could ever comprehend. Yep.
Oh.
That's
Now, this is gonna go get deep. That's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother time. When you get astrophysicists together who understand the vastness of space and how these things actually work, I think this is one of the coolest things. And I think that it's easy to have conversations with kids or bring students in if we start off at these levels and get them thinking and saying, okay, well, how would you try to figure it out? Because
yeah.
I saw one of those Drake equations
Yes, yeah,
that
yeah.
they teach, and I'm like, okay, I could come up with my own equation, right? But there is one more question from LaShonda. She was more trying to figure out how you wanted to protect your intellectual property. Like, do you have a framework?
Oh, that's fair. I was initially asked that when I started the project, and so I feel like I've built, there's the website, there's like a lot of the events and what I've done with the AstroBeats project has been recorded, but I don't have anything like official. Like I don't have
Oh,
anything
okay.
written. I don't know how that works if you have to like go through some kind of certification. But maybe I should. But yeah, I
Yeah,
don't have
yeah.
it set up. Just the evidence of that the project was done when it was done and then a couple news stories on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Shout out to Black in Space Week. Shout out to Black in Astro. Thank you all for being a part of this panel, this journey with Shania. You all will definitely have to pay attention to all the great work that she's doing. Um, I don't know. Is there anything you want to do to take us out? Because I feel like we did already. Like,
Yeah, I don't even know what else to. What do you, okay, what are your plans for your students? What do you want to do with your students?
yeah, right now I am on summer vacation. That's
Mhm.
the one of the perks of being a teacher. I get to sit back and relax and enjoy this break because when we're in the thick of it, it's a lot going on. But one of the main things that I want to try to do is have create an independent study. So I've never taught an elective at my school yet. So I want to teach an elective, and I know it's going to be astrophysics. My default is to do like exoplanet work or something like that. But
Sure.
I always feel like I need to know what's going on in the industry so that I can stay up to date. So like things like NSVP or AAS, like me being a part of those conferences and going and seeing like the research. Will you be presenting at any of these conferences anytime soon that you
I'll
know
be at
of?
NSBP in November, which is
And
in
NSVP?
North Carolina this year.
Okay. So I gotta make my way to NSBP this year. I'll definitely be over there. I'm trying to bring some students so that they can
Oh
see.
my gosh, that would be so great. Bring as many of your
That's
students as you
right.
can.
So that's what I did when I was teaching here. When I was in Chicago public schools, I brought students down to AAS, and that was my way of trying to get them to see the industry and become a part of the astrophysics world and the astronomy world, so that they can see things. Because I didn't know that this world existed until I
Right.
got to college.
Right. Yeah, you don't know. Like,
So,
I remember when I first did my first research experience, I was like, what do you even research? Like, what I don't know. I couldn't even come up with an idea of what you would work on. And now that I'm in it, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many things that you could do. It's insane. But like you need people to tell you kind of where to look, what's going on. There's a lot of insider information that people
mhm.
outside don't get. So we have to make sure that, we're spreading the resources around.
Yeah. Thank you again, Shania. Everyone, thanks for joining us. This is Shaniya Jarrett, soon to be Dr. Shaniya
Oh,
Jarrett.
also, oh my
Go
gosh.
for it.
Also, if you want to hear the songs the girls made, you can go to astrobeats.us. And all the music is posted there that they made and more about the project. That's astrobeats.us. Yeah.
I'm gonna want some type of collab because I do music, which is
Yes.
why they wanted me to be a part of this panel right
Yeah.
here. So let's try to figure something out. We can stay in tune so we can work. Um, Thanks everybody.
Yeah. Thanks,
All
guys.
right. Yep. All righty. Have a good one.